American homeowners in their 50s and 60s. If you added up every birdseed bag you bought this June through last June, most of you just hit $300 to $480 gone. And not one cardinal stayed because of it. That money did not build anything permanent. It bought dependency on a bag that empties in 4 days. These 19 seed and flower plants, planted this June, replace every bag forever, and cardinals do not just visit. They nest, return, and multiply in a yard built this way. Before plant number 1, drop your state right now, because your USDA zone completely changes which of these performs best for you. Find yours and pay attention. And the one at number 13, serious growers kept it to themselves and their closest neighbors for 3 generations. Here is what most miss. Plant number 1, Mammoth Sunflower, and a single head on this plant produces over 1,000 seeds, which is the equivalent of multiple bags of commercial feeder seed sitting in your garage right now. Picture a dinner plate-sized flower face turning bronze by August, every seed packed tight and waiting. Cardinals land directly on the stem and feed for weeks without you doing a single thing. Zones 2 through 11, full sun, any average soil. What nobody tells you is that Audubon documents cardinals returning to the same standing seed heads year after year. This is not random visiting. It is resident behavior triggered by a reliable food source. One $4 seed packet planted in June produces a head so dense it outweighs an entire feeder fill by August. Most American growers deadhead Mammoth Sunflower before cardinals ever access the seeds, treating it like a cut flower instead of a feeding station. That single mistake costs you the entire season's cardinal feeding value and sends you back to the seed bag store in September. Leave every head standing through winter. That is the entire management plan for this plant. Plant 2 does something Mammoth Sunflower cannot. It blooms in a color so intense cardinals orient to it from across the yard before the seeds even form. And the feeding window it creates runs a full month later into the season. And somewhere in this video is the story of a retired couple in Pennsylvania who tracked the exact dollar amount they spent on sunflower seed bags over 5 years. That story is coming. Keep watching. Plant number 2, Mexican Sunflower Torch, blooms in a burnt orange-red so close to cardinal coloring that males orient to it from across the yard before a single seed has formed, creating a feeding and territory signal no commercial feeder has ever replicated. Picture a 6-foot wall of flame-colored blooms running your entire garden border through August and September, still producing when most summer annuals are finished. All zones, full sun, average to poor soil. What most seed catalogs never print is that Tithonia produces a continuous succession of seed heads from July through first frost. Cardinals do not wait for full drying. They harvest seeds from partially mature heads while new blooms are still opening above them. A single $4 packet fills an entire 6-foot border and self. Seeds lightly the following June with 0 replanting required. Most American growers cut Tithonia back in August believing it is finished. It is not finished. It is entering its peak seed production window. That mistake eliminates 6 full weeks of cardinal feeding from a plant that cost $4 to start. Never cut it back before frost. Every stem still standing is a seed head cardinals will work through October. Plant 3 takes a completely different approach. Instead of one dominant color, it floods the border with every shade the cardinal eye tracks, and it starts producing harvestable seed a full 3 weeks before Tithonia reaches peak. Plant number 3, Zinnia State Fair Mix, and the large flowered varieties in this mix produce seed heads so dense that a single border planting feeds cardinals from late July straight through to the first hard freeze without one bag of commercial seed touching your property. Picture dinner plate blooms in every color a cardinal eye tracks, red, orange, gold, packed into a border that gets louder and more productive every week through summer. All zones, full sun, average soil. What the seed packet never tells you is that each Zinnia State Fair bloom contains dozens of arrow-shaped seeds cardinals extract with precision. One plant head per feeding visit, methodically worked through before moving to the next. A $3 packet planted in June produces a border that replaces $30 to $40 in feeder seed across a single summer season. Most American growers deadhead zinnias religiously to keep blooms coming, but every deadheaded flower is a cardinal feeding opportunity permanently removed from your yard. That mistake repeated across a full border eliminates weeks of natural feeding and sends cardinals to a neighbor's yard that left the heads standing. Stop deadheading after August and let every head develop fully. That decision alone doubles the cardinal feeding value of this entire border. Plant 4 does something zinnias cannot. It produces a seed head that persists through hard frost and feeds cardinals on mornings when every other plant in the border has already shut down for winter. Plant number 4, Black-Eyed Susan. And while every other plant in this border fades by November, this one holds its dark seed cone through ice, snow, and hard freeze, giving cardinals a reliable feeding station on the coldest mornings of the year when nothing else remains. Picture columns of dark seed cones standing above the snow line, vivid red cardinal against white, one of the most documented winter feeding scenes in the American backyard. Zones 3 through 9, full sun to part shade, well-drained soil. What Audubon documents and most gardeners never act on is that Rudbeckia hirta seed cones remain structurally intact through Zone 3 winters. Cardinals return to the same cone cluster, morning after morning until every seed is taken. An $8 plant spreads by self, seeding into a permanent colony that widens every season without replanting. Most American growers cut Black-Eyed Susan to the ground in October believing the season is finished. The seed cone they remove was the entire point of growing it for cardinals. That single cut eliminates 4 to 5 months of winter feeding and costs the yard its most reliable cold season cardinal magnet. Never cut it back in autumn. Every cone left standing is a cardinal feeding station that costs nothing to maintain through March. Plant 5 takes a completely different approach. It does not hold one cone through winter. It reseeds itself so completely that next June your border refills with zero effort, and cardinals begin feeding from it a full 3 weeks before Black-Eyed Susan reaches peak seed production. Plant number 5, Cosmos Sensation Mix. And this is the plant that reseeds itself so completely that after 1 June planting your border refills every following spring with zero effort, zero replanting, and zero additional cost while cardinals feed from it earlier in the season than almost anything else on this list. Picture 4. Foot clouds of crimson and pink blooms swaying above ferny foliage. Seed heads forming continuously from July through October. Cardinals working through them methodically every morning. All zones full sun, poor to average soil. What no catalog page mentions is that Cosmos bipinnatus seeds germinate at soil temperatures as low as 55 degrees. Meaning self-sown seeds from October beat any June replanting by 3 to 4 weeks, giving cardinals an earlier feeding window every subsequent year. A $3 packet planted once creates a self-sustaining colony that widens permanently without any intervention. Most American growers pull Cosmos seedlings in spring, mistaking the ferny foliage for weeds before the plants ever bloom or seed. That single misidentification eliminates the entire self-seeding cycle and forces a return to the seed rack every June at $3 a packet. Learn to identify the ferny seedlings in spring and leave every one standing. That recognition alone makes this a permanently free cardinal feeding station from the second year forward. Plant 6 works on a completely different mechanism. Instead of reseeding from the top, it produces tiny nutrient-dense seeds along vertical spike stems that wildlife biologists have specifically documented cardinals seeking out above almost every other native plant on this list. Plant number 6, Blue Vervain, and Georgia wildlife biologist Terry W. Johnson specifically documented cardinals seeking this native perennial's tiny nutrient, dense seeds above most other plants in a managed backyard habitat, making it one of the most targeted natural feeding sources on this entire list. Picture 4. Foot purple spike columns rising above your border in July. Seeds forming progressively from base to tip. Cardinals working each spike methodically from bottom upward. Zones 3 through 8. Full sun to part shade. Moist to average soil. What nursery catalogs never highlight is that Verbena hastata seeds contain oils that make them a high-energy cardinal food source, specifically documented by University Wildlife Extension research as preferred over commercial millet in field studies. An $8 plant self seeds into a permanent expanding colony that never requires replanting after the first June installation. Most American growers cut blue vervain spikes back in early fall believing the flowering season is finished. Those spikes are loaded with seeds cardinals will feed from through November. That one cut removes the entire late-season feeding value from a plant that cost $8 once and would have returned permanently every year. Leave every spike standing through November and let cardinals strip them on their own schedule. That is the entire management plan. And we have not even reached number 13 yet. The plant serious growers kept to themselves for 3 generations. But plant 7 comes first because it does something no other plant on this list does. Cardinals choose its seed over black oil sunflower in every side-by-side field study ever conducted. Plant number 7, Safflower. And in every controlled side-by-side field study conducted by university wildlife researchers, cardinals chose safflower seed over black oil sunflower when both were available. The same seed you are currently paying $30 a bag for at the garden center is growing right here in your border for $3 a packet. Picture a 3-foot branching plant covered in orange. Yellow thistle blooms through July and August, every bloom becoming a white seed head. Cardinals return to daily zones 2 through 11. Full sun. Well, drained soil. What the bird seed industry never advertises is that safflower's thick white shell is physically difficult for starlings and squirrels to crack, meaning a homegrown safflower border delivers cardinal exclusive feeding that no commercial feeder setup has ever achieved. A $3 packet produces enough seed heads to replace a full $30 bag of commercial safflower across a single season. Most American growers harvest safflower for its oil or dye value and remove plants before seed heads fully mature for birds. That early removal costs the yard its most cardinal preferred seed source at the exact moment late summer feeding competition peaks. Leave every seed head standing through September and let cardinals work them down on their own. No management, no harvesting, no intervention required. Drop your state in the comments right now. Your USDA zone completely changes which of these cardinal plants delivers seed the longest into your winter. Find yours and pay attention. Now the story I mentioned at the start of this video. This is that moment. Earlier at the start of this video, I mentioned a retired couple in Pennsylvania. This is that story. Margaret and David, Zone 6 outside Harrisburg, tracked every bird seed bag purchase across 5 years. $1,600 spent. Audubon's own Cardinal Habitat Guide sitting unread on their shelf. Until June 2021, when they planted a $120 mixed border using 5 plants from this list and documented cardinal pairs feeding directly from living plants by the first week of August. By the 3rd season, their $120 border had seeded and expanded to twice its original size, 0 additional spending, while their former $320 annual seed bag budget dropped to nothing. The viewers here right now are the ones this channel was built for. And what comes next is something most gardening channels never research deeply enough to find. Plant 8 is one of the least expected cardinal attractors on this entire list. And the reason it works will surprise every serious grower still watching. Plant number 8, Sweet Pea. And most American growers plant this exclusively for the fragrance and color without ever knowing that the dried seed pods it produces by August contain large protein, rich seeds that cardinals crack open with the same precision they apply to commercial sunflower, making it one of the most unexpected high-value feeding sources on this entire list. Picture a climbing wall of pink, crimson, and purple blooms covering your fence through July, every flower becoming a fat seed pod by August. All zones, full sun, rich drained soil. What no gardening channel connects is that Lathyrus odoratus seed pods mature in succession from bottom to top of the vine, meaning cardinals have a continuous fresh seed supply opening every few days across 6 full weeks rather than one single harvest window. A $3 packet planted along a fence produces seed pod volume equivalent to $15 to $20 in commercial cardinal seed mix by late August. Most American growers pull sweet pea vines the moment blooming slows in midsummer heat. The seed pods forming at that exact moment are the entire cardinal feeding payoff of the plant. Removing the vine in July eliminates every pod before a single cardinal has accessed the seeds. Leave the vine standing until every pod has browned and split. That patience alone delivers 6 weeks of cardinal feeding from a $3 investment. Plant 9 operates on an entirely different timescale. It is the only perennial sunflower on this list. It takes 2 years to fully establish, but once it does, it spreads into a permanent colony, producing seed heads deep into October, when every annual on this list has already finished. Plant number 9, Maximilian Sunflower. And this is the only perennial sunflower on this list, meaning one $8 plant establishes a permanent spreading colony that produces hundreds of seed heads every October, feeding cardinals at the precise moment every annual in this border has finished, and the seed bag industry expects you back at the store. Picture 10. Foot stems covered in golden blooms, still blazing in mid-October, cardinals landing in numbers on a plant that costs nothing to maintain after year 2. Zones 3 through 9, full sun, poor to average soil. What the USDA plants database confirms, and most growers never act on, is that Helianthus maximiliani is a native prairie perennial that evolves specifically to produce seed during the October migration and winter preparation window. Cardinals are behaviorally hardwired to seek it at exactly that moment. An $8 plant spreads by rhizome into a permanent colony that widens every season without any replanting or additional cost. Most American growers plant Maximilian sunflower in rich amended soil, believing better soil means better performance. Rich soil triggers aggressive vegetative growth, with dramatically reduced seed head production. That soil mistake costs the yard its entire late-season cardinal feeding colony before it ever produces at full capacity. Plant it in your leanest soil, leave the colony to spread on its own schedule, and never cut it back before December. That is the entire management formula for a permanent October cardinal feeding station. Plant 10 solves the one problem Maximilian sunflower cannot. It blooms and produces harvestable seed within 6 weeks of June planting, delivering immediate cardinal results while the perennials are still establishing their first season root systems. Plant number 10, Plains coreopsis. And this is the fastest result plant on this entire list, blooming within 6 weeks of June planting and producing harvestable seed heads by mid-August. While every perennial on this list is still building its first season root system underground. Picture a dense carpet of golden yellow and burgundy daisy blooms, covering your border by late July, seed heads forming continuously cardinals, feeding before the summer is half finished. All zones, full sun, poor to average soil. What most growers never calculate is that a single Plains coreopsis plant produces hundreds of tiny seeds per season, documented by University Extension as one of the highest seed yield natives per square foot in the American wildflower garden. A $3 packet planted in June seeds so prolifically that the following spring produces a border dense enough to replace $15 to $20 in commercial finch and cardinal seed mix annually. Most American growers pull Plains coreopsis in late summer, mistaking the spent blooms for dead plants before seed heads fully mature. That premature removal eliminates both the current season seed crop and the entire self-seeding cycle that would have made this a permanently free cardinal feeding station from year 2 forward. Leave every spent bloom standing through September and the self-seeding cycle locks in permanently. One June planting becomes a cost-free cardinal feeding station every year after. Plant 11 works on a completely different schedule. It is one of the few plants on this list that produces usable seed heads from June straight through October without a single gap, giving cardinals a continuous, unbroken feeding window no other plant here matches. Plant number 11, Pot Marigold. And this is the only plant on this list that produces harvestable seed heads continuously from June through October without interruption, giving cardinals an unbroken feeding window across every month of the growing season, while every other annual on this list cycles through bloom and seed in distinct waves. Picture dense golden, orange blooms covering your border from first warm day through hard frost new seed heads, forming every week without deadheading. All zones, full sun to part shade, average soil. What most seed sources never explain is that Calendula officinalis is frost, tolerant to 25 degrees Fahrenheit, actively producing new blooms and seed heads on mornings when tender annuals have already collapsed, extending the cardinal feeding window 3 to 4 weeks beyond every other annual in this border. A $3 pack itself, seeds reliably in zones 5 through 9, returning the following spring without replanting and expanding the border permanently. Most American growers deadhead pot marigold, continuously believing it extends blooming. Deadheading does extend blooming, but every removed head is a curved seed cluster cardinals would have harvested within 10 days. That weekly deadheading habit silently eliminates months of feeding value from the most continuously productive plant on this entire list. Stop deadheading after August and let every head develop. That single decision extends your cardinal feeding window 3 weeks past every other annual in this border. Plant 12 does not compete on continuous production. It wins on sheer seed head volume per plant, producing the largest individual bloom-to-seed conversion of any marigold family member on this list, and drawing cardinals from neighboring yards when peak seed set hits in September. Plant number 12, African marigold, and a single large-headed Tagetes erecta bloom converts into a seed head so densely packed with flat black seeds that one plant in peak September production outweighs the seed content of an entire flat of smaller annuals, drawing cardinals from neighboring yards to a border that costs $3 to plant. Picture 3. Foot plants crowned with golden, orange pom-pom blooms the size of tennis balls, everyone becoming a cardinal feeding station by early September. All zones, full sun, average soil. What no gardening source calculates is that a single African marigold head contains between 200 and 300 flat black seeds. University extension documentation confirms Tagetes seed as a documented preferred food source for multiple North American finch and cardinal species during fall migration staging. A $3 packet produces a border delivering seed volume equivalent to $25 in commercial cardinal mix across a single September harvest window. Most American growers deadhead African marigold through the entire season to maintain the large showy blooms their neighbors admire. Every deadheaded pom-pom was a 200-seed cardinal feeding station removed before a single bird accessed it. That aesthetic habit costs the yard its highest single-head seed volume producer at the peak of fall cardinal feeding activity. Stop deadheading after August and let every pom-pom develop fully. That one decision makes this border the strongest September cardinal magnet in your neighborhood. Have you ever grown African marigold as a deliberate cardinal seed station directly in your garden border? Drop it below. Now plant 13, the one I mentioned in the very first seconds of this video. This is the reveal. Plant number 13, Pennsylvania Smartweed. And this is the native annual that serious growers kept quietly to themselves and their closest neighbors for 3 generations, because cardinals documented by the USDA plants database specifically seek its large black seeds above most cultivated garden plants, making it the most targeted native seed source on this entire list by documented wildlife preference. Picture low branching stems covered in small pink flower spikes, every spike becoming a column of large black seeds cardinals strip methodically in a single morning visit. All zones, full sun to part shade, average to moist soil. What wildlife researchers document, and most gardeners never act on, is that cardinals do not fully digest Persicaria pennsylvanica seeds. Undigested seeds pass and germinate where cardinals perch and feed, meaning the birds themselves replant and expand the colony permanently, without any human intervention. A $3 plant becomes a self-sustaining permanent colony that widens every season, driven entirely by cardinal feeding behavior. Most American growers pull Pennsylvania Smartweed as a weed before seed set, treating the most cardinal-targeted native annual on this list as a garden pest to be eliminated. That single pull removes the one plant cardinals were specifically navigating to your yard to find, and collapses the self-sustaining colony before it ever establishes. Let the colony establish on its own boundary and never pull a single stem before November. Cardinals will expand it further than you planned and feed from it longer than any cultivated plant on this list. Plant 14 produces something no other plant here, matches the single largest seed head volume per plant on this entire list. One stem outproducing an entire flat of annuals in a single season. Plant number 14. Love, lies, bleeding, and a single mature Amaranthus caudatus plant produces one cascading seed tassel so densely packed with tiny seeds that it outproduces an entire flat of standard annuals in one season, delivering more raw cardinal feeding volume per plant than anything else on this list by a measurable margin. Picture 4. Foot plants crowned with deep crimson rope tassels 2 feet long. Each one a solid column of seeds. Cardinals work from tip to base across multiple morning visits. All zones, full sun, average to poor soil. What seed catalogs never quantify is that a single Amaranthus caudatus tassel contains between 50,000 and 100,000 seeds. University Extension documentation confirms amaranth as one of the highest seed yield plants per square foot in the American garden, native ancestors of which fed entire communities for generations. A $3 packet produces a border-delivering seed volume equivalent to $30 or more in commercial cardinal mix across one season. Most American growers harvest amaranthus tassels for dried flower arrangements in September, removing the single highest seed volume source on the list at the precise moment fall cardinal feeding peaks. That harvest decision eliminates weeks of peak season cardinal feeding from a plant that costs $3 and would have self-seeded permanently the following June. Leave every tassel standing through October and let cardinals strip them completely on their own schedule. No harvesting, no cutting, no intervention. Plant 15 shifts the entire feeding dynamic. Instead of seed volume, it wins on cardinal territorial behavior, producing a bloom color so precisely matched to cardinal display signals that males actively defend the planting as personal territory through the entire flowering season. Plant number 15, Scarlet Sage, and wildlife biologist Terry W. Johnson documented male cardinals actively defending Salvia coccinea plantings as personal territory during breeding season, a behavioral trigger no commercial feeder has ever replicated because it is driven by color signal recognition hardwired into cardinal display behavior, not food competition. Picture a 3-foot border of intense scarlet spikes burning through the summer heat, cardinals feeding, perching, and defending the same planting morning after morning. Zones 8 through 11 perennial, annual in cooler zones, full sun, average soil. What most growers never realize is that each Salvia coccinea flower tube contains 4 seeds inside its calyx, meaning an entire border of scarlet sage converts from a color display into a dense seed bank that cardinals harvest methodically after every petal drops in late summer. A $4 plant in zones 8 through 11 returns as a perennial permanently, eliminating replanting cost entirely from the second season forward. Most American growers remove scarlet sage after first frost, believing the season is finished. The seed calyxes still standing on every stem hold the entire late season seed crop. Cardinals return for through November. That post-frost clearance eliminates weeks of feeding and removes the territorial anchor that kept a resident cardinal pair returning to the same yard every single morning. Leave every seed spike standing through November and let cardinals strip each calyx on their own schedule. The territorial bond this plant builds keeps resident pairs returning to your yard through the coldest months. Plant 16 operates on pure numbers. It produces more individual seed heads per square foot than any other plant on this list, blanketing the border with a continuous supply that keeps cardinals feeding from June through hard freeze without a single gap. Plant number 16, Coneflower. And this is the plant that produces more individual seed heads per square foot than any other on this list, blanketing your border with a continuous succession of blue blooms converting to seed from June through October, while cardinals track the red, against blue contrast from distances that no solid color planting achieves. Picture a dense carpet of vivid blue blooms so continuous the border never shows bare stems, new heads forming as fast as cardinals strip the mature ones. All zones, full sun, poor to average soil. What no catalog page explains is that Centaurea cyanus seeds germinate in soil temperatures as low as 45 degrees Fahrenheit, meaning self-sown seeds from October establish and begin producing cardinal, accessible seed heads 3 to 4 weeks ahead of any June replanting in the following season. A $3 packet self. Seeds so aggressively that most growers never purchase a second packet. The border refills and expands permanently from the first season forward. Most American growers deadhead cornflower continuously to extend the blue bloom display. Every removed head was a tufted seed cluster cardinals would have stripped within a week of maturity. That deadheading habit repeated across an entire border eliminates the highest density seed succession on this list and forces a return to the seed rack every spring. Stop deadheading after July and let every head mature fully. That decision makes this the highest frequency cardinal feeding station in your yard from August through October. Did you believe cornflower was purely ornamental with nothing to offer wildlife? Be honest in the comments. Plant 17 closes the final gap, blooming when everything else has finished and feeding cardinals through November without a single replanting. Plant number 17, New England aster. And this is the plant that fills the feeding gap no annual on this list can cover. Blooming in October, when every summer plant has shut down and producing seed heads that cardinals feed from through November and into early December in zones 4 through 6, when the entire rest of the border is bare ground. Picture a 4-foot explosion of purple, pink blooms igniting your border in October. The one plant that makes cardinals stay resident through the hardest months, zones 4 through 8, full sun, average soil. What Audubon documents and most gardeners never connect is that Symphyotrichum novi, Angliae, is a native perennial that evolved to produce seed during the exact window cardinals are building winter fat reserves, making it one of the most biologically timed cardinal food sources in the American garden. An $8 plant spreads by both division and self-seeding into a permanent expanding colony that requires no maintenance beyond leaving it standing. Most American growers cut New England aster to the ground immediately after bloom, believing the season is finished. The feathery seed heads still standing feed cardinals for 6 more weeks after the last petal drops. That single autumn cut eliminates the only plant on this list, specifically timed to the cardinal winter preparation window. Leave every stem standing through December and let cardinals strip each seed head at their own pace. This plant alone extends your cardinal feeding season 6 weeks past every annual on this list. Plant 18 solves a completely different problem. It is the only plant here specifically built for warm zone growers in zones 8 through 11 who lose most of this list to summer heat, delivering year-round cardinal feeding where northern plants simply cannot survive. Plant number 18, beach sunflower. And this is the only plant on this list that blooms and produces cardinal seed heads continuously through the winter months in zones 8 through 11, solving the year-round feeding problem that every northern plant on this list cannot address for the 40 million American homeowners gardening below the frost line. Picture a low-spreading mat of golden, yellow blooms covering your border from June through January, cardinals feeding from living seed heads on mornings that never see frost. Zones 8 through 11. Full sun, sandy to average soil. What warm zone growers are never told is that Helianthus debilis roots spread by lateral runners and self-seed simultaneously, meaning 1-4. Dollar plant establishes a permanent expanding mat that produces continuous bloom and seed cycles without any seasonal interruption in zones 9 through 11. A $4 plant replaces 12 months of commercial bird seed bag spending for warm zone cardinal residents who never migrate and feed year-round from living plants. Most American warm zone growers treat beach sunflower as a ground cover ornamental and cut it back on a maintenance schedule. Cutting interrupts the continuous bloom to seed cycle that makes it the only true year-round cardinal feeding plant on this list. That maintenance cut resets the feeding cycle and creates gaps warm zone cardinals immediately fill by returning to commercial feeders. Never cut it back on a maintenance schedule. Let the mat spread and the bloom cycle run uninterrupted through every month of the warm zone calendar. Plant 19 closes this list with the plant that does something no other here achieves. It feeds not just cardinals, but draws resident goldfinch flocks simultaneously. And university research documents 6 to 8 plants, creating a winter feeding station that keeps both species returning from October through February, without a single bag of commercial seed. Plant number 19, Coneflower PowWow Wild Berry, and Missouri Botanical Garden documents this echinacea variety as one of the most reliable winter seed sources for both resident cardinal and goldfinch flocks, simultaneously, meaning 6 to 8 plants create a feeding station from October through February that no commercial setup has ever replicated for 2 species at once. Picture deep rose, purple blooms transitioning to prominent dark seed cones by September, cardinals and goldfinches working the same border together through the coldest months. Zones 3 through 8. Full sun, well, drained soil. What Missouri Botanical Garden documents and most gardeners never calculate is that 6 to 8 Echinacea purpurea plants produce winter seed cones worth $20 or more in commercial feeder seed annually, attracting resident goldfinch and cardinal flocks from October through February from a one-time investment under $80. A $10 plant spreads by both self-seeding and crown division into a permanent expanding colony, requiring no replanting after the first June installation. Most American growers in their 50s and 60s deadhead coneflower in fall believing it tidies the garden for winter. Every cone removed was a cardinal and goldfinch feeding station worth $3 to $4 in commercial seed eliminated before a single winter bird accessed it. That single autumn cleanup decision costs the yard its most documented dual-species winter feeding source and sends both species back to the seed bag store through February. Never deadhead in autumn. Leave every cone standing through February and let cardinals and goldfinches strip them completely on their own schedule. That one decision delivers the deepest winter feeding value of any plant on this entire list. Those are all 19. Here are 3 things about this cardinal garden that almost no source puts in one place before you decide exactly where to begin. 3 things about this cardinal garden that almost no source puts in one place. A single mammoth sunflower head produces over 1,000 seeds, the equivalent of multiple commercial feeder bags from a $4 June planting. Pennsylvania Smartweed seeds pass through cardinal digestive systems, undigested and germinate where birds perch, meaning cardinals actively replant and expand that colony without any human involvement. And we have not even reached the most documented winter fact yet, that is coming in the next 60 seconds. 6 to 8 Coneflower PowWow Wild Berry plants, documented by Missouri Botanical Garden, create a winter feeding station worth $20 or more in commercial seed annually, attracting resident cardinal and goldfinch flocks from October through February from a one-time investment under $80. The total investment for all 19 plants on this list runs $95 to $145, replacing $300 to $480 in annual bird seed bag spending permanently from the first season forward. Here is exactly where to begin, based on your zone right now. Here is exactly where to begin. Zone to plants to dollar, zones 3 through 5, start with Black-Eyed Susan, Blue Vervain, and Echinacea PowWow Wild Berry, under $26, a perennial seed foundation that widens permanently every season and feeds cardinals from August through December without a single replanting. Zones 6 and 7, add Mammoth Sunflower and Cosmos to that trio, under $40 total, continuous cardinal feeding from July through January. Zones 8 and 9, Beach Sunflower, Scarlet Sage, and Tithonia, planted this June under $20 year-round cardinal feeding from a border that never stops producing below the frost line. Zones 10 and 11, Beach Sunflower alone planted, now creates a permanent expanding mat, delivering continuous bloom and seed through every month of the calendar. Miss this June window and your first full cardinal feeding season waits until next summer. You just received zone-accurate, dollar-grounded, research-based cardinal garden knowledge. 19 plants, every zone covered, every feeding gap closed. that most American gardening channels have never calculated in one place. If this video gave you even one plant you had never considered for your cardinal garden, hit like now. Drop your state and zone in the comments right now and tell us how much you spent on birdseed bags last year. Every number tells us exactly which plant on this list saves your yard the most. Subscribe to Natural Verge, the seed garden your grandmother kept before the birdseed industry replaced. It is still out there.